Creation of a humanoid. Power to overwhelm and destroy. The product of a tortured brain. Power to overwhelm and destroy. The product of a tortured brain.
Your feeling of helplessness is your best friend, savage.
Oh, hi. How you do? What's up, everyone? How you do? How's it going? Camera's wrong, isn't it? Yeah, camera's wrong. Camera's frozen. Camera's off. Camera's on track. Camera is now a penguin. I don't know. I mean, honestly, any suggestions for sound alerts, dumb shit on a shirt, alerts in general, or general requests, by God, just throwing them in the suggestions channel. I'll definitely be using them when I before I go live for Stream Maintenance Monday, or before I cancel Stream Maintenance Monday and then do the stuff off stream because I'm too exhausted and never get anything done. Smile. What was that beauty I manifested last night? I didn't get her. I wrote down, I just wrote down, quote, make a shirt about AI reminding you gravity is okay, and then went to do show prep. So I didn't make anything yet. That might be something we just end up doing Monday. Although I want to, before I like commit to start designing shirts on Monday, I want to make sure there's like no incriminating information that is so shown on the fourth wall control panel. Before it's just like, just doxes me or something like that. Just like wide open. Like a lot of those things like saying, welcome so-and-so. Here are your earnings. Here is your whatever. Here's the amount of questions you have. I need to make sure there's like none of that. Or, you know, just actually go sit down and work on the stuff. There it is. Okay. I know I had a freaking thing. Mac addresses are okay to show. Apple devices are secure. I'm sorry. Look, Unjust, I know you're trying to fulfill the advice dog meme, but that meme format is dead. No one's gonna understand what advice dog is. But no, most of my morning this morning was actually spent trying to get some equipment ready to be sold on Craigslist. Trying to, first off, go ahead and, you know, get in a better spot, but then also just be less tech hoardy. Like, I've got no reason to keep my old rig. I've got 2 servers. I am not selling the Mangler. Oh my God. The day the Mangler is sold is the day that either A, the Mangler is dead, or B, that company is dead. Who wants to tell Rabbit that Chromebooks are dead? It's still true. Chromebooks are still dead. What's up, Lich? How you do? All right, let's actually get to this now that we're an hour late. And by we, I mean me. I'm an hour late. Maybe it means that I end up rushing through some stories. I mean, I probably still will, but... Was Digimon Frontier a anime series? Delete anything that mentions AI. That's half our stories. We literally cannot, we literally have to mention AI. It's the story in tech right now. Like, unironically, I mean this fully. It would be better for the show to trim out everything that's not AI. But then you'd miss out on, first off, the headline topic, because that actually is big. And also you'd miss out on some very interesting neuroscience stuff that's behind my head. Hey, I will delete me first. Hasn't gotten there yet. I think I'm more likely to get killed by a stroke. Comprehend the fact the Bears are in first place for 2 weeks in a row. You can safely sex track on Meta 16 times. Yes, that according to one safety leader. So you only have to dodge the actual authorities 16 times. After that, then Meta finally bans you. For legal reasons, this is a joke. For legal reasons, this is a joke. That actually should be another sound clip I get. The like robo voice going for legal reasons. This is that's like an auto-tuned voice. You know, it doesn't matter. All right, let's just get to it. 3, 2, 1. Going on today on Eagle Eyes on Tech, the PayPal Honey lawsuit was dismissed. Does that mean they're off the hook? We'll get into details on that one right away in the episode. Chrome OS and its replacement finally has a new name. Nvidia is finding new ways to ruin the GPU market, and bards, you heard me, bards are the answer to defeat AI. All that more coming today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Yeah, I should have prefaced that with Kipo Kappa. Kappa Kappa Kipo. All right. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or so I am. Good about this Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. We got a lot to talk about today. We're getting into it. The end of the year is around the corner. And I'd say it doesn't feel like it if it weren't for the fact that out here we got buried in half a feet of snow. Why is it half a feet? It should be half a foot, isn't it? If you don't like my grammar, you can go ahead and email me at idon'tcare@eaglefalconstudios.com. let me know how well that email goes for you. If you have actual inquiries, eaglefalcontech@gmail.com. Anyway, I first want to get to some absurd stories, because this first one is insane. And it kind of has the same energy as, if you guys haven't heard, the Campbell's Soup controversy. For those who don't know that controversy, an executive allegedly claimed he would never eat their product because it is 3D printed, genetically modified garbage for poor people. Now, I imagine, first off, there's a lot of hyperbole in there just because, let me tell you, as someone who has had to go ahead and report on Impossible Foods and other such meat substitutes, it is far cheaper to have real meat than it is to have, you know, fake meat or even 3D printed meat. We are not at the point where synthetic meats are cheaper than that, but I digress. This story has similar energy. And that is, according to a court filing, one of the statements said in it was that Meta had not one, not two, not three, not four, but get this, 17 strike policy for sex trafficking, according to a former safety leader. Now, that seems absolutely surreal. But I'll be bluntly honest here, okay? I don't believe this is true. You want to know why I don't believe it's true? Because if this was the case, someone would have been a whistleblower and gotten a huge payday long before now, if this was the case. When push comes to shove, money is the ultimate motivator. And for things like this, an internal whistleblower that would go directly to, say, what would it be? The FTC? The FCC? Like anyone, like, whistleblower programs are put into place just for this sort of reason, to go ahead and call out companies that have absurd policies like this. Because a 17, to know about any individual or organization violating sex trafficking laws 16 times and not doing anything is against the law. It is against several laws, in fact. So you're going to see this come up. Maybe it's true. If it is true, that is insane. But I do believe there is quite a bit of exaggerating going on. Or, you know, a certain safety leader is very bitter about losing their job because they're already former and just decided to go ahead and exaggerate before he was put under oath or anything of the sort. Just to go ahead and grab headlines. You know, it's hard to say what's really going on here, but I'll tell you this right now. I don't believe the headline. And it's not to say that I think Meta is an upstanding digital citizen. I absolutely do not. Meta is about the scummiest of scum that can scum that exists out there. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I do think that this is not the case. What's accused of them is not real. Kind of like you should also look at this headline and think logically too. PayPal's Honey lawsuit has been dismissed. All right, so what is going on here? So PayPal Honey, for those who don't know, was in a big controversy not too long ago, where it was revealed that, in fact, PayPal not only isn't exactly up and up on the kind of data they have, and also kind of run a very odd racket with various businesses, trying to strong arm people to support them and whatnot. But the far bigger controversy involving PayPal is the fact that those who use the PayPal extension and tried to use any kind of affiliate code, PayPal would automatically replace that affiliate code with their own without the customer's knowledge. So, for example, let's pretend that I used my Amazon affiliate links at all. Like, I have an Amazon affiliate program. I have been very lazy about it, and I just don't even bother anymore. But let's pretend you wanted to go ahead and build, say, the exact PC that I had, and I put all the links in a description somewhere. If you went ahead and used those links to get those parts, because you're an insane person and want the stupid build that I did, by the way, you don't. You think you do, but you don't. It's a very dumb build. But if you did put those in, I would be credited as the affiliate that brought you in to buy those parts, and I would receive a small amount of kickback as an affiliate. But if you had PayPal Honey installed, if you used what they would do, okay, use my links, right? You have PayPal Honey installed. Before you check out, there'd be a button that would say, before you go, you want to check to see if there's any additional discount codes? And most of the time, it would say, no, there are none. Maybe you might find one that's like a little 10% off sort of thing. You know, whoop-de-doo, everything's good. And it's just like, good news, we found this thing. And you're like, yay. Okay. What happened in the background, though, is that my affiliate code got replaced with PayPal's. So now PayPal is taking credit for the sale, not me, who was the person who originally pitched out those components. Influencers, of course, are furious and have filed a class action lawsuit against Honey. Well, that lawsuit has now been dismissed. Here is what's not being mentioned, though. It is being dismissed without prejudice. This means that for whatever reason, the judge did not like something in the filing, saying that there wasn't enough information, not enough evidence was presented. So, one thing or another, they didn't like the lawsuit push and said, you need to go back to the drawing board. This is not a victory for Honey. This is the lawyers that are affiliated with all the affiliates, with all the influences and whatnot, need to go back to the drawing board and rewrite the initial cover for the lawsuit. They have 45 days to, in fact, do this. So no, The lawsuit is still on. PayPal is not the winner in all this. There's just time that needs to be taken to go ahead and strengthen the case. Funny enough, though, there's another case very similar to this that ended very similarly that, I'm not going to lie, I meant to cover on the podcast. I never did. Mostly because, well, one, I was waiting for more information, and then second, I forgot about it. This actually has to do with a story we covered before. This involves professional jerk Logan Paul and his crypto scam known as CryptoZoo. His case was also dismissed without prejudice. In fact, it's a bit more complicated than just that. There's multiple different lawsuits going on in regards to CryptoZoo. But basically, the whole thing was dismissed. Like, 4 of the counts were dismissed without prejudice. 1 was dismissed with prejudice. So the lawyers got to go back and redo the whole thing. Logan Paul's, of course, going around gloating, oh, I've been proven innocent. Oh, see, I'm totally innocent. When anyone who knows anything about the story knows, no, you're not. No, you actually aren't. Anyone with functional eyeballs knows that he's not. It's all just processing stuff. In fact, the new news involving this and why we are actually talking about it is the fact that there is allegedly going to be a refiling soon. Reports are coming in at the time of recording saying that the lawsuit is being refiled after the whole thing has been redone against Logan Paul. So similarly, if you've seen that whole Logan Paul beat the CryptoZoo lawsuit, oh, he's fine for it. Oh, he got away with it again. Oh, professional jerk does it again. By the way, I really want to use a much stronger word than jerk. I just want that to be clear. He's not free of it. Not even close. In fact, he's only just been, the whole thing has just only begun. So for now, all we can do, wait and see how it goes. You should be seeing in the news that hitting in a couple of days, most likely. Since we're on the topic of stories I neglected to talk about that I probably should have for a while, let's talk about the U.S. Patent Office. This story, admittedly, is almost a full month old. But it is one that I realized I never talked about on the podcast. I talked about it during my streams, but I never covered it during the actual podcast. This is, in fact, involving Pokemon and their recent patents trying to patent in Japan the concept of, well, basically having an in-game mount or having a creature that you can summon in order to ride around at an increased movement speed. Or, you know, a mount. And then another patent in the US, which was basically trying to patent summoning. Having a creature that comes into battle and attacks automatically as a sub character. Yeah. And like these 2 patents were filed to be in their weaponized lawsuit against Palworld. Which, by the way, I still look back at how this whole thing went down, and it is wild when you think about the big picture of Pokemon versus Palworld. All right? I want you to think about this for a moment, right? Pokemon just launches the glitch fest that is Scarlet and Violet. Palworld launches not long after, and Palworld is accused of being a copy of Pokemon, which, by the way, on its face, gameplay-wise, is absurd. Because Palworld is far closer to Arc than it is to Pokemon. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The only thing that's similar between Palworld and Pokemon is Palworld's art style being shockingly close, to the point where I thought that Palworld's character models were generated by AI that was trained on Pokemon art. And I was not the only one who thought this at the time. That's what many people thought was going on. Heck, there's a lot of major Pokemon fans wondering why Nintendo hasn't gone ahead and tried to file anything against Palworld for what is blatant theft. And I wondered that too. And then I stood back and went, okay, everyone's talking about this. And in fact, Pokemon, if you remember right, put out a statement saying, we know about this game with similar art style to ours. Our team is looking into it. You don't need to keep emailing us. They basically sent out a newsletter to the general public saying, please stop emailing us about Palworld. Months upon months went by after that newsletter, and all of us with not rotten brains just assumed that's that. Nintendo and Pokemon couldn't find any evidence that it was made by generative AI. So most likely it probably is not. Because if there was, the sue happy frickin' Nintendo would have absolutely shot their shot by now. And then we find out later, oh no. Nintendo didn't shoot their shot yet. They haven't shot their shot because they were still crafting the bullet. In the end, Nintendo didn't file a lawsuit to go ahead and protect their IP, meaning that they copied Pokemon. No. They filed patents after Palworld launched and used that as grounds not for copyright infringement, but for patent infringement. This from the get-go was assumed to be one to protect their intellectual property, and in the end it turned out to be a lawsuit out of malice. Because that's all this is in the end. This entire lawsuit is not about protecting any intellectual property. It is about sending a message. It's not even about trying to get paid. Because all Pokemon wants in the end is for sales of Palworld to stop, period. The update, which I admit is my bad. I should have talked about this way sooner, but things kept coming up. The update from nearly 3 weeks ago is the fact that the US Patent Office, in regarding summoning characters, which by the way has been a thing in video games since the early 90s. We've had games that summon sub-characters since the NES, since the 8-bit era, since before Pokemon was a thought. Even in the US. So while the patent was awarded to Nintendo, the lead of the patent office said, we are looking back into this case. The patent office boss who pretty much just sits back and enjoys a paycheck, which is its own problem, has gotten off their lazy butt and is in fact forcing the current patent office to review the credibility of the patent, saying that Pokemon was the first case of this sort of gameplay mechanic in the United States. Spoilers, they're not. More than likely, this is going to get reversed. It hasn't happened yet, but most likely will be considered invalid. By the by, that whole mount patent I mentioned in Japan, that has been struck down. Nintendo does have something like 30 days to respond, but that patent has in fact been struck down. And now it's up to Nintendo to go ahead and prove that, oh, no, we invented riding animals. We definitely invented that recently, just now. Totally, totes for reals. It's going to be very, very entertaining. So yeah, we're now caught up on important stuff on the Pal World Pokemon front. Cases are still, of course, ongoing. I'll tell you what, though, it does look like Nintendo is not going to win this one. Nintendo has a very good track record of winning these sort of cases. It does not look good for them. This is one of the few cases where Nintendo looks like they are, in fact, going to lose. Some rumors out from the rumor mill. Nintendo Studios Singapore is currently trying to acquire shares of Bandai Namco in the Singapore stock market. No one is sure why as of yet. Of course, the first thing everyone assumes, oh, Nintendo's gonna buy Bandai. Oh my god, they're gonna go ahead and buy up Bandai and Nintendo's army is gonna grow bigger. Oh my god. How many of you think that's the case? Put your hands down. You know I can't see them. The correct answer is most likely not. This is something that does happen from time to time, where companies that work with each other do buy shares of each other, so that they have we'll just say motivation to help each other. So Nintendo helping Bandai helps increase their value, and vice versa. This is very, very common. And considering the fact that Bandai Namco has in fact helped with a number of projects. Did I go ahead and copy the wrong list? I think I did. Okay, here we go. Bandai Namco has in fact worked on the following pieces of works that have shown up on the Nintendo Switch. That being Splatoon 3, oof, the new Pokemon Snap, Ace Combat 7, Soul Calibur 6. We're already up to Soul Calibur 6. When did Soul Calibur 5 and 4 happen? And I just never knew about it. Tekken 7 and Tekken 8. So yeah, there's a bit of a vested interest between the two of them. So as much as there's probably gonna be some people that assume that this means Nintendo's gonna make a move to buy up Bandai, no. That most likely is not the case. It could still be, all right? There is a chance it could be, but most likely it is not. So don't panic yet. They're not going to file patents on how to Tekken. We don't have to worry about the Nintendo patent being filed for air juggling or having a kangaroo as a playable character. By the by, we were talking before on previous episodes of the podcast about YouTube removing educational videos and calling them destructive or harmful behavior. And a lot of people assumed that this was actually because of our favorite thing to blame, all due to AI. It makes sense. There's a lot of YouTube channels that have recently gone offline permanently, all thanks to AI. All right, it makes some sense, right? So is that what's going on here with these videos trying to teach you various things in IT? Well, a human went ahead and responded. As a video was posted onto Twitter talking about the dangers of rootkits and how to prevent yourself from being attacked by one, with the message, YouTube is removing educational cybersecurity videos. Here's the video in question. YouTube replied to them saying, quote, quick update on your appeal. We brought it to the policy team. They confirmed the video violates the harmful or dangerous content policy and the original decision is upheld. The policy decision is here, and then gives to a link. To which then the best feature to ever hit Twitter ever hits YouTube, saying that YouTube lets Mr. B stage someone being locked in a burning house and allows Logan Paul to mock a man who died by suicide and even overlook the accusation that their ventures have involved misleading or scam-like tactics. You know, to put it like that, a whole lot of stuff that YouTube's been doing kind of violates their harmful or dangerous content policy, huh? Funny that. But it is interesting, right? That you could say that, okay, this video is talking about rootkits. They want to make sure that you don't know as much, so you can't try to reverse engineer or make your own rootkit and try to build a botnet using this and blah, 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 blah. You could try and make that argument. That argument is bad, but it's an argument you could make. But I have to ask, what is the argument on taking down video involving making your own cloud storage system? Or taking down a video on how to turn your media server into a LAN-only television station, so that your kids during the streaming era could enjoy the glory days of Saturday morning cartoons or anything like that. Those videos also taken down because they were harmful or dangerous. Videos about making a Pi hole, a device that goes ahead and blocks advertisements on the LAN level, harmful or dangerous. You know, YouTube, if you want to get real technical, any video talking about how to use your new favorite thing, AI, could be considered harmful or dangerous because you can use AI to convince people to self-harm. Or AI, when given the correct prompts, could tell someone how to make toxic gases under the guise of it being a delicious drink. Or telling people to eat glue because it makes for stretchier cheese. So by this logic, anything involving AI should be banned, and all channels telling you how to use AI should be given a strike on the community guidelines for promoting harmful or dangerous behavior. In fact, I would argue everything I just said is more of a valid reason for why to take down a video and issue a community guideline strike than to do it for InfoSec videos. But you know, what do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet. We're going to take our first break here. When we come back, we need to talk about some other fun business, such as how social media is going to be held liable for problems that go on their platform. And of course, we're going to also get to what does the future of Chrome OS look like. Don't go anywhere. We will be back. Who wants to tell them that Chromebooks are still dead? Like, they're still dead. The future's so bright, Chromebooks have to wear sunglasses. No, they're still dead. They're still dead. Most amount of cope ever. Still dead. YouTube is getting worse and worse. I don't want to talk too loudly, but it does feel lately it has finally bottomed out as far as how bad it can get. Like, it doesn't feel like we're sliding anymore. The amount of AI slop is getting less and less. More and more videos trying to pass themselves off as legitimate are being forced to mark that they've been generated using AI. Heck, some music that I strongly suspected was AI generated, but I could never prove it, all had to add. Yeah, it is all made on Suno AI. Can't these statements practically account to practically everything lately? GPUs are currently at their best in the last 5 years. That ain't gonna last though. But accessibility. GPUs are fine. RAM though. RAM is a different story. Unfortunately, the RAM shortage hasn't hit the GPUs yet. But it will. It's going to. We don't want to say it will, but it will. It's gonna. Oh well. What can you do? And then GPUs quadruple in price. I don't think the GPU bubble is going to get as bad as people think. We do actually now have a better theory to the point of we're pretty sure this is exactly what happened as to why RAM prices are going up. Because what's funny right now is that most people just assume, why are RAM prices up? Oh, because the sellers just want to price gouge. Let me tell you something. Do you know what the sellers just want to price gouge means? Anyone who says sellers just want to price gouge when it comes to something like this, it actually translates to, I have no idea, but I'm really pissed about it and don't want to admit that. Or I refuse to learn. Very, 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 very rarely is it just a handful of sellers wanting to go ahead, price gouge the market, and then everyone blames on someone else. That almost never works because there's always, just like with the Facebook story, someone will talk because it's going to go ahead and someone's going to come out and just say, yeah, they're just doing this because they can. And then profit out on it. Or then someone else who's not in the loop just goes ahead and starts selling stuff at less to go ahead and get back at them. And then stuff eventually normalizes. Sellers just want to price. Yeah, you got it. It's all them pesky basements. All the basements want to price gouge. Yeah. It's OpenAI buying 40% of the world's supply on credit. It is going to be amazing when this bubble pops. Because you're going to watch so many companies that were too big to fail explode. And it's going to be glorious. In case, we should get back to the podcast, shouldn't we? Three, two, one. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. A new EU law, or as we've sometimes called it, the EU, have went ahead and passed a new law. New EU law has passed a law. Yep, that makes sense. That makes total sense. Don't worry about it. That's what we're rolling with. This new law sets a new set of rules out there, specifically for social media, holding social media liable for any financial scams that may take place on the platform. A law that is grossly unfair, I might add. But holy smokes, is it actually gonna be really, really funny for some of these platforms that just do near zero moderation at all. Now they're saying the new rules set a dangerous precedent, because it is going to mean that social media is going to have to go ahead and pretty much be as big brother as they possibly can. Now, not just for their own profit, but to make sure that their users are actually safe. Oh boy. Yeah, that might not be good, huh? That actually might be what they refer to in the business as a problem. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how well this goes over. I have to imagine someone out there is going to work their butt off to try and make sure that that they're protected. Like they have to, right? For now, all we can do is wait and see exactly how that all goes down. I'll tell you what, though, it is going to be very, very interesting. Meanwhile, though, here is a very interesting story. Windows 10 is reaching retirement, right? In fact, it's pretty much already there. Many of those users cannot use Windows 11. For one reason or another, their system is unable to use Windows 11. So this means a great exodus of those computers and people are instead buying newer computers that can handle Windows 11, right? Well, there are people who are doing that, I myself being one of them. Mostly because I know Windows very well. I didn't want to learn a new operating system. And it's a computer I use in production. So, yeah, I definitely want to get out of it. So, how many people do you think aren't doing that? In fact, there's a large number of people that are switching to Linux. How many people do you think have switched to Linux? 10,000? 20,000? 50,000? Come on, guess. Guess. We'll make this interesting. Could it be as high as 100,000? 150,000? Or is the amount that much lower? Are we only talking 50K? Someone else in our chat says 5. Nobody is right, by the way. None of the numbers I've said are correct. Every single number I just said is too low. Over 780,000 Windows users are skipping over Windows 11 for Linux, according to Zorin OS developers, as their distro hits an unprecedented 1 million downloads in 5 weeks. Now, Zorin OS is unique in the fact that their operating system looks very much like the Windows 10 environment. So it is a Linux distro that is the closest to looking like the operating system you're familiar with. So there's a lot less of a learning curve. Even so, holy, that's crazy, man. So Linux has a chance? I mean, I'll tell you this much. If you asked me how many people are going to switch to Linux, I would have said 100,000 max. 100,000 is what I would have expected. Not almost 750,000. I don't know whether this is a sign of people being fed up with Windows or people just wanting to prolong the life of their computer because it's good enough and don't see a need to buy something newer or can't buy something newer. It's crazy. It is absolutely insane. So yeah, there's your little tidbit for the week. 780,000 people skipping Windows 11 for Linux. That's crazy. Now, the funny thing is that for the tease, I mentioned the future of Chromebooks. Oh. Immediately the chat in meme fashion just went, oh, the glory of Chromebooks. Oh, we're so back. Chromebooks are so perfect. Oh. You can tell they're lying, that they've never used a Chromebook in any serious capacity other than learning how to use it as, like, you know, a side computer, or learning how to use it so that they can help their kid with their homework or something. Because nobody is that happy about a Chromebook. The most you get is, oh yeah, it works. We have talked about how Chrome OS is dead. Chrome OS has no future. It is being replaced, and finally the replacement has a name. The next iteration of the Chromebook, which will probably get a new name, is called Aluminium OS. Yes, mispronounced and everything. Aluminium OS. Now, as far as its capabilities, we don't know what they are yet. I personally hope for a bit more control over the operating system, but at the same time, one of the only successes of Chrome OS and why it ended up being so widely adopted is because Chrome OS, well, it's a very dumb operating system. There's basically nothing there. So schools no longer need to worry about any kind of actual IT to go ahead and make sure that kids aren't doing anything naughty to their operating systems. Instead, they just need to make sure that they're not going to 4chan or a porn website or looking up corn or anything of that nature. So as much as I want to hope that Aluminium OS will in fact allow some decent control over the operating system, let you go ahead and tweak and customize the thing so it actually has a life outside of being a web browser, I want to look hopeful at this, but at some point I have to look at the facts and go, yeah, I just don't think it's going to. I do mean that seriously. I do want Aluminium OS to actually be an operating system that has potential. Because I have seen thousands upon thousands of thousands and thousands of Chromebooks come across on pallets to a warehouse only to end up being destroyed. They end up having no future. They come in, they try to be sold. Nobody wants them because nobody can work on them, and there's such a lockdown system that no one can install Linux or any other kind of operating system on it. It's just, yep, an outdated version of Chrome OS. That laptop is useless. It is basically scrap metal, and they can't even sell it for $5. Pallets upon pallets of the things. Literally off to be recycled. E-waste. No future, no hope, no nothing. Oof. Big, big, big oof. So that's that, I guess. What's the future of Chrome OS? Probably boring. Is it going to be good? Probably not. Do we know for certain? No. So I guess we can still hope, but you know, let's be a little realistic in our hopes. Meanwhile, Microsoft is tweaking their Xbox interface on their handhelds. So this whole thing is interesting, and I don't know what to make of it. So, not all that long ago, Microsoft launches the Asus ROG Xbox Ally X and the Asus ROG Xbox Ally. Okay. Both these devices sell for, I think it's like $800 and $1,000 or something like that. And in the end, they end up selling much like what you'd expect a device that is not a console to be sold for. In fact, let's actually get over to that in a minute. All right. Let's talk about console pricing versus computer pricing, because this is something that's stunning how tech media seems to be absolutely stupid in this regard. All right. A compute device or a gaming device you price as though it was the device itself. A game console you sell at a loss or a near loss, being a very, very, very low price, even to the point where you're probably even losing money, with the expectation you are going to make that money up selling other items, whether it be peripherals, accessories, or the most likely culprit, games. There's a reason why console games are $10 more than their PC counterparts. Now, Valve sells their Steam Deck as the device itself. It's just that the device has very, very thin margins and they don't try to expand upon that all that much. But that's why their device sells for starting at $400 for really outdated hardware, and then $550 for only slightly outdated hardware. Okay, that's how much the Steam Deck goes for. Now look at Microsoft. They sell the Xbox Series X at $600, and then these handhelds, which you think would be less, are sold for more. The thing is that these Xbox handhelds aren't really Xbox handhelds, they're Asus handhelds. Asus doesn't make any money on video game sales, so they have to price it as though it's just the device itself, because they need to make all their money on the device itself. So now Microsoft is taking feedback and they're going ahead and upping the interface, which is good. And they clearly plan on doing this more moving forward. They're going to look at the Xbox moving forward and trying to sell it Xbox as an ecosystem rather than a console. So it's to be other manufacturers making the actual desktop consoles and handheld consoles for their next generation. That's clearly the plan they're going with. The console PC hybrid, as often referred to. Meanwhile, you have Valve doing exactly what Microsoft is doing. They are making a PC console hybrid, meaning that it uses PC components, it runs on Linux, and it runs on their own operating system, but it's being priced out as though it were a PC. We've known this from the get-go. That was their plan. It was going to be priced as though it's just the device alone because it is a PC. Valve told us this when the thing was announced. This was not a secret. People have known from day freaking one the Steam machine was going to be priced like an entry-level PC. We've known this from the get-go. This has not been a secret. So why on earth are people talking about it now like it's some breaking news? This is actually maddening. This is insane. I don't understand. Why is every single person talking about the Steam Deck or the Steam machine seem to just have a defective brain. It's crazy to me. It is absolutely insane. The Steam machine will be priced like a PC with the same level of performance. I can't wait for the next week's article where they said Valve Steam machine will be called the Steam machine. Of course it will. They mentioned that in the flippin' intro. The thing is, it's not just news outlets. Alleged experts on social media are apparently just this stupid. I don't understand. People think that, oh, Valve said they won't subsidize the Steam machine's price like console manufacturers. Of course they're not. They never did. They never did with the Steam Deck. They never did with the first generation of the Steam machine. They never did with the Steam Link. They never did with the freaking Valve Index or anything of that. Oh my God. I'm losing my mind. Someone in chat says, honestly, though, they did not mention anything on price at launch rather than keep it blank when it came to that. On when they announced this, they said in multiple interviews, we can't say anything on the price, but it will be priced like an entry-level PC. On launch day! On launch day! They said this. And then for a full week, they kept restating it. On the I shouldn't say launch day, on announcement day, they have been saying this. They have been saying this to every single media outlet that asks. They have made it publicly clear. But for whatever reason, the reporting on this has been so mind-blowingly bad that people are stunned that we're 3 weeks later. People are just like, oh, it's gonna be priced like a PC. I have been saying from the get-go, this thing's probably gonna be priced $700-800. I've been leaning more and more towards the $800 mark just because now of what's going on with RAM. And people are just like, oh no, it could still be it could still be 500. It could totally still be 500. Even though game consoles aren't even $500, it could totally be $500. Valve's been hoarding RAM. They have plenty of RAM stocks. They can get past this shortage. It's gonna be a $500 console. It's gonna be a $500 console. It's not. We don't know what it's going to be yet. But holy smokes, I need people to stop reporting on old news like it's brand freaking new. It is absolutely insane how bad the reporting has been on the Steam machine. I mean, I just want people to think logically for a second, all right? The Steam Deck starts at $400. Why would a device with 5 times the performance be around the same price? Just because it doesn't have a screen? Oh, I'm sorry. It has no battery either. Ooh. I hate to break it to you. A touchscreen and battery are not that expensive. There are some cost savings there. It is not cutting down it is not half the cost of the device. There. I've gotten my rant out of the way until we get to AI or NVIDIA. One of those two are going to get me pissed off more. I don't know which one yet. In other news that's more interesting, Intel may find a new customer in Apple. Apple may in fact be using Intel foundries to process and create the M7 processor. This is Apple's... Wait. No, this isn't the mobile ones. No, that's right. The mobile phone, the mobile processor for whatever reason are marked as A. The M's are the full-sized desktop processors. So yeah, we're about to get Intel powered Macs again. Even though it's Apple silicon, it's going to be made by Intel, which I'm not going to lie, is kind of funny. Honestly, I'd say good for Apple. Especially since, you know, a lot of the fabs are going to be trying to transition over to making RAM after a large chunk of the world's supply has been bought up by our best friend, AI. You know, the thing that we love. We all love AI. In fact, we love other fabs so much that are helping to build more AI that we feel bad for them when their exec's home is being raided by Taiwanese governments in a trade secrets probe. Wait, what? Yeah, I don't know what to make of this one yet. But Taiwan officials have raided a former TSMC executive home in a probe about trade secrets. I don't know what to make of this yet. Because what you may or may not know is that TSMC makes almost all processors. Like, it is getting absurd how much of the silicone manufacturing TSMC does. They've just got all the tech, all the capabilities to go ahead and do this. No one else can do it better than TSMC. You want to talk about how there are some small monopolies, how Steam has a monopoly? Steam's monopoly on the PC gaming space is nothing compared to TSMC's monopoly on making processors or graphic cards. It is crazy how much of a monopoly TSMC has on that market. So we're going to see later on down the road what's going on there. Right now, unfortunately, we know very, very little. All right, we're going to take probably our last break here. When we come back, I want to get to getting an update as to what is going on with the RAM shortages and how it ties into AI. Don't go anywhere. We will be back. No, they literally did have information out on the day of. 100%. Multiple outlets. Oh, here. Kind of make sure there's an autoplay. God damn it, trying to find the original sources, and I get even dumber. One outlet trying to say it's gonna cost $2.99. That's... oh my god. No, I just... oh, god dang it. Okay, there we go. Try to copy another link. I end up pasting over that link with the previous link I had on clipboard. I had one other article. They've unfortunately took their article down. I don't know why. Or I'm stupid and can't find it. The latter is most likely probably correct. Still not a... An interview with the actual engineer straight from Valve is not official. Just the end. There's not gonna be any pleasing you then, I'm sorry. I mean, look, when you've got Valve right there, you got, like, Linus was not the only one with that data. Like, first off, it is more than one source. I know there were 3 interviews. I can't find the third, unfortunately. We have an interview with both Gamers Nexus and Linus. Both of them had people from Valve directly say the price, they don't have a price yet, but it is going to be focused more towards an entry-level PC. We had this from the get-go. Is it technically an official statement? No. Most of them only pop up a week later. This is the only reason I'll argue on this rant. Here's the thing. We're on week 3. We're on week 3. And we got people stunned about things we knew 3 weeks ago. Like, let's even say 2 weeks ago, because this week, you're right. It is a holiday week. People are just going to go ahead and just post stuff they had in the back burner. The fact that we got people who are reporting on stuff that we known for 2 weeks, well on time, and then acting like it's brand new is insane to me. Or hell, we still have people. I mean, first off, I love now the grand total of people parroting Linus now saying that's going to be $6.99. I still think it's going to be $8. Not $8.99, but $800. We still have some. Where was it? I think I just lost it. Damn, I just lost it. You know what? That's probably for the best. The fact that we still have some articles today that say the Steam Machine could cost $300 is not helping anything at all. I haven't cared about a Whopper in so long. Also, we were focused on something else. I think the last time I had a Whopper. Wait. When was the last time I was at a Burger King? Like at all? Where even is there a Burger King around me? Laptop RAM looks like they're on the. Actually, that's actually a very good question. DDR5 SODIMM prices. Okay. Okay, well, I had hope. There are some holdovers that haven't gone up in price. Like I can find an 8 gig stick for $76. There's one 32 gig stick for $150. but the price is going up because I am seeing a lot of like Newegg has two 32 gig sticks for $480. Crucial has RAM of unknown amounts for $400. Thanks. Yeah, this is a crapshoot. Like, we got one here. That's fine-ish. We got some here that's possibly fine. No idea what the amount is. $280 here. Up. Wait. Wait. Wait, hold up. Crucial, how'd you get 12 gigs? Wait, how did this happen? Maybe that's why it's cheap. What is it, one 8 gig and one 4 gig module? Or is it actually a single 12 gig stick? Oh, you can see this one stick. This place, Photoshop, this 74 bucks. The other two, no. Yeah, it is a 12 gig capacity stick. What? Probably half what goes into a 24. Okay, when I had 24 gigs on a laptop, it was not two 12 gig sticks. I'll tell you that much right now. It was two 8 gig sticks and two 4 gig sticks. Because 2 of the 4 gig sticks were under the keyboard and I didn't feel like going to replace those. That is unfortunate. Taking 12 gig sticks, that's wild. All right, does PC Part Picker have a chart for SODIMMs? They do not. That's unfortunate. Damn. Also, what's up, Just Bunny? How you do? Yeah, I can't find anything as far as like a good chart for specifically SODIMMs. At least not easily. I found a chart for RDIMMs, but you know, that doesn't help us. Okay, I have technically found a chart. All the chart has taught me is that something very wucky is going on over at Best Buy. Am I incapable of reading a chart, and is this point actually the day before Black Friday? 17th. No, it's not. Nap sounds really nice. Unfortunately, then I'm not going to wake up till tomorrow, and then we're not going to get anything done. I mean, we can talk about this chart. It's not going to be an intelligent talk. I'm curious. Can I just remove Best Buy from this? Because Best Buy is clearly the anomaly. It's clear when the media was blowing info on the RAM pricing explosion. Yeah, that is a thing that has to be talked about. A whole night, if you prefer. All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. That's been the last time we play that too. Think about that for a second. Next week we start the Christmas bumpers, and then we go to New Year bumpers. That's it. Last time we ever play on Little Cat Feet until I find a better remix. Good chill little track. I like that track. All right, so we are now on like week 17 million or so when it comes to talking about the RAM prices launching straight into orbit. At least it feels like week 10 million. It's actually closer to like week, I would say 2 or 3, since it actually made like big news. But it's kind of hard to say, you know? Because the whole thing kind of just like gradually happened. And right now, nobody knows exactly what's going on. But we finally do have a theory. This isn't confirmed, by the way. Let's be clear about that. This is not confirmed. Reports go, though, as follows. We have OpenAI, one of the biggest AI units on the planet. They make 2 deals with both Micron and Samsung for a large amount of server DDR5 RAM, specifically for AI data centers. They both agree to the deal. Neither of them knew the other was involved in the deal until later on. Word then gets out that this deal is going on with both of them, and the math is done, and you're looking at OpenAI buying something close to 40% of the world's supply of RAM to construct more AI data centers. This then causes panic. Not with the consumers, mind you. No. This panic is caused by other businesses. Because if 40% of the world's RAM supply is going to this one guy, that means now what was a pretty big supply just got cut almost in half. You're about to go into the holiday season, and it's quite possible that your electronics products won't be ready in time for the holiday season. So thus, your Microsofts, your Sonys, your Apples, your Dells, your Gateways, your HPs, et cetera, all start buying RAM to hoard RAM to make sure that they have a supply. Because there's a chance there won't be any RAM. Ladies and gentlemen, RAM is toilet paper. You remember almost 6 years ago now, when there was, looking back at it, really stupid fear that everyone was going to run out of toilet paper when the pandemic and the lockdown started. So everyone started buying 10 to 20 times the amount of RAM, I mean toilet paper, they actually needed, just in case they ran out. Which then did cause a shortage because the consumption increased by 10 to 20 times. That is the current theory with what's going on for RAM. So, looking at this theory, what does it mean? Do we have to worry about this price hike lasting for years? Do we have to worry about this price hike being permanent? Is RAM just going to forever cost 500 times what it used to? Well, if RAM follows the same pattern as toilet paper, this means by March, everything should return back to normal. Big if, though. And it's all information that's being posed off a theory. But it does mean in the meantime, electronic components are going to be more expensive. Now, if this theory is correct, products that are RAM but are not directly the RAM in question, that are not full-size DIMM DDR5 sticks, most likely they will not be hit as hard. Because by the time the RAM shortages affect those devices, supply should catch up. In fact, we kind of sort of see this already with a question that someone posed in the chat during the break. What about laptop RAM? Well, we see a bit of a recent spike in the prices. We also see the price of RAM in Best Buy apparently being about as volatile as the price of a highly speculated cryptocurrency for some reason. Apparently at one point RAM was almost $2,000 at Best Buy. That has to be an error, right? It's only for 64 gigabytes of RAM for a laptop. That has to be an error. But in any case, we don't see the consistent bell curve on SODIMMs that we do see on regular DIMMs. We are seeing a rise, but it's a slow rise. It's not as drastic as it has been. I mean, when push comes to shove, just make do with what you can. Okay? There's even some people who are fearing that they need to go ahead and do a build. Maybe they're better off using DDR4 systems, going on an older architecture and just using DDR4 RAM. I don't know if I'd go that far, but these are things to consider. I think what is safe to say, this is the worst possible time to try and build a new PC. And good thing I know no one doing that. Yeah, the joke is I'm still in the middle of my build. Now, to make matters even worse, this is still the same kind of RAM that does eventually go on other products. Like I said, it's not hitting everything as badly now, but it will hit it eventually, which then makes this move really just show how much NVIDIA hates you. NVIDIA reportedly, and I want to stress, this is also a rumor, but rumors are saying that NVIDIA is no longer going to supply the VRAM to its GPU board partners. Now, let's rewind a little bit. Because on its face, this looks like a massive middle finger. In reality, it's a slightly smaller middle finger. Just like a smaller one. Not like a full-size one. Not like one of those like foam sports hands flipping you off. But maybe like a gloved flipping you off. Like winter gloves. Anyway. Normally, when it comes to other manufacturers other than NVIDIA or AMD manufacturing a graphics card, normally all they provide is the actual GPU die itself. It is up to the add-in board partner to supply the RAM, as well as all the other components. So NVIDIA provides the RTX 4090 die, or 5090. I'm sorry, I forgot we're on the 50 series. I forget with the performance. All right, you get that die, right? It is then up to the card maker. That'd be your Asus, your, well, I'd say EVGA, but they bailed. Your Asus, your MSIs, your Power Colors, your whomever, your Gigabytes. It's up to them to source the RAM. Recently, and by recently I mean like about 4 generations ago, NVIDIA started requiring manufacturers to use exactly a very specific kind of RAM and was supplying the RAM as well. This took a lot more creative liberties away from those board manufacturers. If you don't know what I mean, back in the day, GPUs were wild. You would actually see makers like Asus go ahead and throw 2 GPUs on a board and have built-in Crossfire already built in onto the thing, never approved by AMD. But there'd be a dual GPU card right then and there. I used to have one. It was sick. You don't get that kind of creativity anymore. You barely get to even tweak the clock speed anymore. You get like very minuscule factory overclocks. Even the RAM amounts have to be exactly the same at the exact frequency that NVIDIA requests. But at least NVIDIA gave you the RAM that you had to use. If this rumor is true, NVIDIA is going to continue demanding the exact specs of the RAM you have to use on the board, but now no longer supply them. And instead tell manufacturers in the middle, or well, not really in the middle, going into a RAM shortage crisis and have to source their own RAM. When for years they didn't have to do that and were actively told they can't do that. Kind of see how, if this is true, how much of a very sudden dick move this is out of NVIDIA. Now, of course, we don't know the details. This is just all speculation based on a rumor. And if this was 6 years ago, I would say there is no possible way this is true. That would be insane. But considering how much NVIDIA charges now for their GPU die, how little margin is left for board partners to the point where GPUs have to be basically price gouged by the manufacturers in direct competition with NVIDIA selling their own GPUs already pre-made as the Founders Edition, which are at MSRP. Like, here's the challenge for you. Find an NVIDIA GPU that sells for MSRP. You're not going to find one. It doesn't matter whether it's now or before all this shortage nonsense happened. It's not going to exist. They're all marked up, and not by an insignificant amount either. It's unfortunate that this is the kind of situation that NVIDIA puts us in, but I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised. And again, maybe they're wrong. Maybe this isn't happening. I kind of doubt it, though. I really, really do kind of doubt it. And of course, this is all for more AI data centers. And a lot of us are just, I'd say there's a small amount of us people out there that are pro AI. There's a slightly bigger group that is very anti-AI. I would say at this point, the overwhelming majority of people out there are just tired about hearing about AI. And if people would shut up about AI for more than a week, they'd probably be indifferent about AI. But they're right now very anti-AI because they want to stop hearing the letters AI. I'd say that's probably a decent assessment of where the population is right now. Then there's Tim Sweeney, the boss of Epic Games, who had a very, very hot take. Too hot to handle. Too hot for Twitch. Too hot for YouTube. The take is so hot, you could only find it on Corn Hub. That's how hot we're talking. 3rd degree burns hot. Tim Sweeney believes that stores like Steam should stop labeling games as being made with AI. Quote, "It makes no sense because AI will be involved in nearly all future production." Hey, Tim Sweeney. You know what you should do? You should go to California and ask why every single product has like Prop 51 on it or whatever the heck it actually is. Do you know about this? I don't have the exact details because I don't live in California, but I keep hearing about it because my brother's in California. Just about every product in existence in California has a warning label on it labeled, it's either Prop 31 or Prop 51. That basically just says this product may contain cancer. Solely because anything that is processed has a non-zero chance of being carcinogenic. It's in the same territory of you right now having a non-zero chance of dying in a tornado right now. There is a non-zero chance of this podcast being cut off the air very abruptly by a shark. So, I mean, to go ahead and say we should just not do this because AI is going to be involved in everything. Let me tell you something. That has not stopped anyone from stopping to put labels on things. In fact, actually, let's go back to the food concept. Do you know there's foods out there that are marked as certified organic? And people want that sort of thing because they'd rather have organic food, even though the definition of organic is vague. Like, I'm getting a bit off into the weeds right now. The point is that more information is better. And I would argue, Mr. Tim, that the primary reason you don't want your games to be marked as uses AI is simply because being marked as made with AI is a bad thing for the product. Just like I'm sure the processed dino nuggets over in the grocery store don't want to have the label of may contain processed meat on their packaging. Oh man, it's made of processed meat. Maybe I won't get this. Let's be honest though, you're going to get it. You don't care. And it's probably going to eventually be in the same way with video games. mean, I'll just say this right now. I'm glad Steam marks it. I'm glad Steam is transparent about all of it. I think it is a good thing that we know that a game had some use of AI in it. In fact, I would argue, let there be more information. Let us know ahead of time that, yeah, AI was used, but only for music, or yeah, AI was used, but only for like the voicing in certain aspects of the game, or yeah, AI was used, but only for the character creator, or AI was used, but only during development. The actual end product was all handmade. Or heck, let's expand the labels further out. The game may contain nudity. Wow, what a useful label. I'm just saying. Huge difference between the two. I'm getting off in the weeds here. Again. More information, better. Someone in chat said no human intelligence detected in development. I think that's the description of Fortnite. Actually, who am I kidding? That's the Roblox moderation. Meanwhile, though, while some people believe that we should not talk about AI being used at all, MIT believes in their recent study that, get this, 11.7% of the US workforce can already be replaced by AI. I'm not gonna lie, I am very curious as to what that 11.7% of the workforce does. Like, are we is this 11.7% of the workforce like social media managers? Or are we talking like, oh, they go ahead and man, the customer support, so we can just replace them and just have a terrible customer support experience? Or are these people actually coders and that sort of thing? And AI can totally code, even though AI really can't code, and you really, really, really shouldn't do that? Don't let the AI code 100% of your code. That's a bad time. Don't do that. Can the AI bubble pop already? Please. Pretty please. Like, we got people already trying to find every single job that AI can replace. More and more companies want to go ahead and use this because they believe it's going to save them so much money and labor. Only to find out that AI, like I've been saying, is not quite there yet. It works great in a test environment, but the moment this thing is out running 24/7, 365, it starts to tweak out. I mean, heck, still one of the better examples out there, a YouTube channel that uses an AI robot to give weather alerts 24/7. I'm not gonna lie, the sucker works great. A fantastic service for those who need it. But then every once in a while, it just hiccups. So it's not like it's replaced the meteorologists that worked on it. They're still there. They're still working on the bot. The only difference is that the bot never sleeps, whereas the people who work on it can. I mean, it did technically replace some jobs, but you know. It's not going to replace all the jobs. Someone in chat says, what do you mean we're getting a hurricane in the Midwest? We did. It's the snowstorm we just got. It was just a very, very weak hurricane. Very, very weak. Like, not even really a hurricane. Anyway, that's all the AI stories I've got for now. And again, you look at everything for AI. More and more AI data centers being built. More and more companies trying to get in. More and more freaking OpenAI buying 40% of the RAM in the world, of the global stock of RAM, 40% of it on credit. Reports from other outlets of various other startups buying multi tens of thousands of dollars GPUs from NVIDIA on credit. Like, you keep looking at this and it looks more and more and more like a bubble. And I keep doubting it just because I'm not a financial expert, like in any stretch of the imagination. But I'm having a hard time figuring out how I could be wrong. And that's terrifying because this looks like it's going to be a big problem. We'll have to wait and see if and when that pops. Oh, who knows? It's just going to expand, overtake everything. And then we're all just going to be replaced by humanoid robots, kind of like how that's already happening in China. China's apparently planning to trial humanoid robots for crowd control at border crossings. I'm, you know, it's been a hot minute since I've seen a Terminator movie, but I'm fairly certain this is how a Terminator movie starts. This definitely comes off as some sci-fi movie where the robots go rogue and try to wipe out humanity starts. Where it comes off with trialing robots as law enforcement. And like, I'm 90% certain the picture they're showing here for this article is just a render. But those hands look like they're in the perfect choking position. Like, it's just like right there, ready to just grasp necks and then squeeze. Like, it's very concerning. Someone in chat says the Papers, Please full bot speedrun any percent. You know what? If all they're doing is doing the Papers, Please job, I think China's be very disappointed in the results. Someone else also asked the question, why are we making bipeds? Isn't that highly inefficient? You know, I know bipedal robots has been like the sci-fi dream of all roboticists. And I know from like the little talks that roboticists have had publicly that they said just doing like tank treads or wheels or literally anything other than two legs is a better design. but they're doing it. I don't know why. Now, here's what they should do. Quadrupeds. We already know it can be done thanks to Spot the Robot. Centaur border crossing robots. Ah, well. We'll have to wait and see how that goes, although I strongly suspect that this story about humanoid robots at border crossings will be the last we ever hear of this sort of thing again. Meanwhile, though, apparently a speech restoring brain chip now gets FDA approval for human trials. I'm not a neurologist. This, on paper, sounds like a massive breakthrough in this sounds like a massive breakthrough for restoring speech, for a cure for those who are mute. If for some reason I lose my ability to talk, please don't put chips in my brain to restore my ability to talk. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about just like putting a chip in my brain to get me to talk. It just doesn't sit well with me. Like, I can't put it into words. Someone asked, have we heard anything about that Neuralink chip guy? We haven't lately. I strongly suspect we haven't heard from the Neuralink chip guy because nothing bad has happened, and also because he's not powered by AI. So this is now a thing that really exists that's actually moving forward. This is no longer, like, we talk about a lot of these like weird horror stories that just sound so far-fetched and so insane, and all it is just a college paper of something that could happen and something that has been tested to be plausible, but not something that's actually put into operation. This is something that actually is now getting FDA approval and is now available for human clinical trials. I am very curious as to the results in the mice and or monkeys that were tested before this. I just want to know, do we have a human speaking Babe the Pig? Does Babe no longer have to worry about the spider speaking for the pig? Oh God, chat wants to know where Pinky and the Brain is, the talking mice that got these speech restoring chips. You know what? If all we get out of it, if the worst we get out of this is Pinky and the Brain, I think we're in good hands. Pinky tends to keep good tabs on Brain before he could take over anything. In another discovery, this one is not reaching the FDA yet, but this is one that is fascinating for a number of reasons. Apparently, there is a newly discovered pain switch in the brain, which could be used when developing medications to make safer painkillers. This is interesting. Really, really interesting. I mean, on one hand, pain is a necessary part of life, so you know not to put your hands on the stove. On the other hand, there are plenty of diseases out there or conditions where your pain receptors are insanely sensitive. And this could be a huge step forward for those people. Potentially, if there's not layers upon layers of stuff that's not, mistranslated here. That's lost in translation between, well, we can do this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, you can turn off pain. I do want to know how quickly this is going to move forward to something that's more usable. Someone in chat says it's probably more something like a nerve blocker. Possibly. That would make more sense. And also, this is also very important just for the sheer number of people who are prescribed certain painkillers and then get addicted to those painkillers because they had an addictive side effect. This could easily take away from that completely. No more need for opioid-based painkillers. Someone in chat says it'll probably take 10 to 20 years from now. Probably. It might even take longer. Maybe it's shorter. I don't know. Probably at least a decade out. But I'll admit fully, I don't know. But I am curious, because I can think of quite a few people who could benefit from something like this. For now, though, I have to instead turn you to the last burb, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, I lied. I do have one more AI story. You thought I was done with it. I have one more. Researchers have found a way to get around all the safety guards for every kind of AI out there with over a 60% success rate of bypassing all the safeties and get AI to do all the things it's not supposed to do. You want to know what the secret is? It's poetry. Researchers are using adversarial poetry to trick AI into ignoring its safety guardrails with a 62% success rate. Oh, this is what it took. This is what it took right here. How do we defeat the AI menace? The answer is simple. We must turn to the prophet of the poets. We need to learn from Edgar Allan Poe or something. Now, look, it's only going to be a matter of time until this kind of exploit is patched out. AI is, of course, advancing very, very quickly. And rather than go ahead and try to reduce the amount of times that it hallucinates, they are very much trying to make sure that people stay within the guardrails rather than trying to turn their AI chat robot into a Nazi. That's probably the bigger nightmare for every single AI developer out there. They do not want OpenAI or ChatGPT or the Amazon Echo devices or anything of that nature. They don't want them to turn into Tay AI. I wonder how many people even remember Tay anymore. The Microsoft robot that got turned into the most extreme radicalist in less than 24 hours. Whew, 4chan did a number on her. Well, folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening. And I do encourage you to check out my other works, youtube.com/EagleFalcon and twitch.tv/EagleFalcon. Take care, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye. So I gotta ask, since poetry can be used to bypass the safety guards, does this now mean that the Bard is the best D&D job to handle the modern day? I mean, yeah, wizards can cast fireballs and fighters can go ahead and take on a tank head first. But as AI takes over the world, it's the Bard that's going to go out there and seduce the AI. Yep. We have gone from seducing dragons to seducing AI. Yep. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's it. The podcast is in the books. Barb, thank you for the raid. How you doing? You just caught the tail end of the podcast. We're about to go on break and shift gears over to FF14. Unless we are encouraged to go do FF4 randomizers with BGG. I'm not sure which. Probably just do FF14 because we got a lot to do there. Don't go anywhere. Get up and stretch. We will be back. Oh, that's not good.